So I guess this is a new channel, and we're just going to be discussing with people about some ideas and stuff, you know. So it's just an open discussion with a few questions, you know. This is Jim, and top left-hand side we have Jim King here, and below we have David Mill, two bass players, okay? And I'm going to steal some golden ideas from them, because in these two guys' heads, they have ideas and some amazing experience, and we're going to steal some.
What a build-up.
Sorry?
Whoa.
What a build-up.
What a build-up. Well, anyway, so who would like to go first then? Dave, Jim or Dave?
Just to introduce ourselves?
No, in terms of asking questions or introductions.
Well, I'm David. I like bass. You've probably seen a few. And I started playing when I was 13, I think. Did a bit of hiatus because I got married, had kids, like many people do. So I kept up and just really came back to it when I was a more mature bass player about 6 years ago. I played around Edinburgh in a couple of different bands, originals band and things like that. So but yeah, so I've been sort of, I didn't get my dream of being a rock star, but I'm still here, still playing, still enjoying it, and hopefully learned a few things on my journey, mainly what I should have done better.
Interesting. Jim, introduce yourself, good man.
Jim King. I was wanting to play for Rangers and Scotland when I was growing up as a young lad. And my mum was always complaining about me kicking balls off the wall if I was nearly playing football. And when I was about 13, 14, my dad had this old acoustic guitar painted blue. I don't know why, but I got my hands on it and I was obsessed. And a short while after, for a tenner I got from my dad, a Watkins high-low vibrato guitar, and I became obsessed. I've never looked back at football since. I'm not interested. Football bores me. So it just became an obsession. And about like Dave, I was about 14, 15, around about that age group. I had a wee break myself. Mrs. X hated me playing a guitar for some reason. They played for about 8 years, but loved coming back. And yet, ironically, she could sit with a guitar on her knee, listen to any song, and play it back to you on 3 chords. It was amazing how she could do it. She must have perfect pitch and not realised it. It was amazing. Or a good relative pitch anyway. So I hadn't played for about 8 years, and I loved it when I came back. I realised what I missed, and I thought, nah, nothing or no one stands between me and my guitars now. But the reason I got into bass was, I noticed early on that when somebody's looking to get folk together for a band, you've got loads of singers, wannabe singers. You've got loads of guitarists, loads of competition, more than you need. You get quite a lot of drummers. You get very few keyboard players, but bass players seem to be like chicken's teeth. So I clicked too. If you learn to play bass and you can't get a gig playing guitar, you'll get one playing bass. But bass, like guitar, they're both a passion. So yeah, been around the block, got most of the hats and t-shirts. But the main thing is, I've survived and I've been happy. So happy days.
Okay. Now, good stuff, guys. Would you mind if I was to pick your heads on some questions to get some golden nuggets for you guys?
By the way.
Sure. So who wants to go first, Jim or Dave?
Just you throw it out there.
Yeah, just choose one. Throw something at me.
Okay. Well, Jim's just went, so I'll go to Dave. Okay. So Dave, right? What 3 things, when you were starting out, maybe in the first year or two, what 3 things do you really wish you would have known when you were either starting out or even when you were just beginning within the first year or two? What 3 things do you think, if you had worked on or known, it would have benefited you so much?
Well, interesting enough, the three things are probably stuff that I got taught anyway, because I actually started off as a drummer, as most young boys do, because they like hitting stuff, and drummers are cool, aren't they? Animal from the Muppets was a huge, a huge influence on me, as was Dr. Zoot, so it was either the saxophone or the drum kit, so I couldn't get either, so I started playing drums. But my dad was a bass player, way back in the 50s, a band called Shane and the Sabres. He gave up long before I was born, but so he was quite happy with, me sort of playing the drums and things. But I actually heard, I think it turned me to bass, was I heard The Real Me by The Who. And it just blew me away, and I thought, that's an instrument, because it's The Who. John Entwistle was basically a drummer. He was a drummer with a bass player, but they played bass. That was his job was percussion, and melodic percussion. It just blew me away what you could do. So I decided, I said, Dad, I want to be a bass player. She said, right, you need to go to lessons. I just wanted to play bass. It was the punk era. You knew, basically you knew the root note. You got a flight drum, pick along, bum 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 bum. It was great. But he said, no, you got to go to lessons. So I did, and I got taught technique, music theory, and reading music. So I was a musician before I was a bass player, and that's a distinction I still have these days. Now, I didn't see the relevance of that. I stuck in at it, and I got to grade something or other, rudiments in the theory of music. I could sight read to the extent where, if somebody give me a piece of music, give me 10 minutes, I'll pick out the bass line. And I was playing a jazz band at school as well, which was quite useful, because I knew the rudiments helped me with the chord structures to form bass lines, etc. And technique, absolutely technique, because it's too easy when just to grab the bass like that, hand over the top, like Lemmy, and it's cool, and I want it to be cool. But I was taught finger at the back, hands at the front, there's your fingers, one finger per fret. And it's you learn that you don't have to use it, it's in your arsenal. Now, the technique is obviously something that develops, he keeps with you. But because I didn't realise my dream of being a rock star, I was in a really successful band, in a couple of really successful bands, one particularly, and we were at the cusp of getting something big. But then everyone ran off to do other things, it just never happened. So, real life kicked in. But when I came back to the bass, I could be working full time as a bass player if I could read music, and I gave that skill up, and I'm starting to learn it again. I've got some music books there, and I'm trying to teach me how to read music. So absolutely get the technique right. You get the well to read music, so you can see a bit of note tabs or anything. But most music you see as a bass player is chord sheets, just chord charts. If someone gives you a chord chart and it's got, B minor diminished, that the notes in there are going to be B, F, and G. I think it's a Hispanic chord, and it's the theory that teaches you that. So those are the things to become a musician. You can be a bass player, and you can pick up a bass. There's some great bass players who haven't a clue what they're doing. Lemmy was a great bass player. He couldn't play the bass, but he was a great bass player in what he did. But if you took him out of his environment, he wouldn't have thrived. So if you got those three things under your belt, you can get loads of gigs, loads of session work, and you'll be in and out of bands, no problem. You'll be the go-to guy, because you can slot right into anything you need to do. So yeah, I was taught, and my dad said that. He said, you need to know all this stuff. And of course, when you're 13, your dad's an arsehole. And then when you're looking back, you're in your 40s, and your dad was right. And it really pains me to say it, but yeah, I wish I'd done that. And everyone that I know that's gone into a career in music has that skill. If I could read music, well, not tomorrow, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, but this time last year, I could have just said, that stuff, I'm getting a job on a cruise ship, and I go away for 3 months, paid gig. So just if I could read music. So that's my advice to all you youngsters out there. Don't do what I did. Stick at it.
Hey, that's brilliant. Thanks, man. That's brilliant. So, Jim, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Okay.
What three things do you think would have helped you big time when you were first starting out? What three things do you wish you had known when you were starting
Well, Dave started the ball rolling, and I'll amplify what he says is my first one. Music theory. When I was younger, before I came to guitar, well, I still wanted to be this great football player, running about with a blue shirt on, Queen and Country and all that stuff. I was forced to learn to play piano. Now, the thing is, I could get this hand going, I could get that hand going, I could slowly read music, and I listened at school to the music class and had my mum teach me a lot of things. And I had this foundation where I did have some music theory, but as Dave was saying, you're only a youngster, and it's like, I want to play bloody rock and roll. That was my thing. And it's crazy because when I went into guitar and then onto bass as well, all I could find was a skiffle rock chord book that had anything to do with guitar. And that was for like the 50s. I was living in the 70s, you know. And then after that, I finally found the Better Weeding Playing a Day book. And that was brilliant. But it was way back in the 50s with the Shadows and then the early 60s. This was the 70s. I wanted to play Alice Cooper, The Sweet Mud. I wanted to play rock and roll, no Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis Presley. But the interesting thing is, the unity that bonds all that music together is the music theory. So if you get the music theory right in one, you can understand it in another. And I think why I would really start, and I really agree with Dave on the music theory issue, is you understand what you're doing and why. You know, why when you play an E chord is the B the fifth? Why does it sound good beside an E and an E chord? You know, why does it resonate nicely and have this lovely tone to it? You know, you start to understand these things and put it together. And it does make a hell of a difference if you understand what you're doing. As Dave says, there's a lot of great players out there. I've had the privilege of playing with some fantastic bassists, keyboard players, guitarists, and I hate every one of them because they can play by ear. They've got perfect pitch. You know, you just start playing and the bloody well, they've never heard the song, they just play it and it's like, wow, you know. But they didn't care if you say to them, right, the progression is C to F to G. They don't have a clue what the hell you're talking about, you know. So as I say, it's a generalisation, Matt. There's been a few people I've known with perfect pitch that can read what have you. But as I say, music theory is a must. Very briefly, I would say, go around listening very carefully and watching. If you see a band somewhere, TV, pub, club, theatre, show, what have you, watch what they're doing. If you hear music, listen to it. And what I used to do was listen for things I liked the sound of. And this was for guitar and bass, so it was like both ways. If I heard something I liked, I didn't have perfect pitch. My relative pitch was crap. It would take me 6 months to work out a riff like Alice Cooper's School's Out. You know, that's being frank. It's maybe over an exaggeration, but that's being honest with it. I had to go and look for sheet music or tab or some way of finding it written down so I could analyse it and work it out. But the thing I'm trying to make as a point is listen for things that you like. Friends of mine went for lessons and they were all like telling me, oh, we've only been taught how to play green sleeves and blah, 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 blah. And yet I thought, you know, if you learn what you want to hear, and I landed lucky, I got a Deep Purple songbook, but it was all chords. But it gave me a good insight into how they were building their songs and the chords they were using and things like that. And I could hear some of the minor scales that Richie Blackmore was using and what Roger Glover was using. So I got clues through there, you know, how to emulate them. But I would certainly say, get your music theory under your belt. It's worth its weight in gold. It will pay you back. And as Dave says, you can get opportunities, session work, cruise work. It opens a whole lot of doors for you. Active listen. And when you hear something you really like, own it. Find out what the hell that guy is playing, whether it's the bass riff from a Madonna song or a guitar lick from Stevie Ray Vaughan. Find out what it is and learn it and make it yours. And the other thing, which I would say passionately, is play with others. Now these days you have the use of backing tracks. You've got YouTube backing tracks. You've got online backing tracks. So you can get them on CD, MP3 player, and that's fine. It does help. It's a step away from sitting with a metronome going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It is a step away, and there's some very good resources with those on it. But there is nothing more fulfilling than getting along with other people, sitting down, playing some songs together, and if you've got it wrong, find out where you've gone wrong. If you've got it right, then you can pat yourself on the head, and it just really amplifies the pleasure, the joy of being able to play. And playing with a group, it's greater than the individual parts. When you guys come together, and that includes girls, of course, as well, but when you come together with that, you're cooking. There's no better experience. So that's my wee bit there. Over to you guys.
Right, Jim, thanks, man. Guys, that's it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I think Jim, certainly that they'd been on my list as well if I had to choose more than 3. But no doubt, playing with a band, it's like learn to drive. You pass your test, then you're out in the car. That's when you learn to drive, when you get experience of it. And yeah, learning with other people. You go to music shops, you see some kids that are just playing incredible licks. You put in a band situation where they have to do it in time and in tune and syncopate it, and they can't do it because it's playing to other people serving the song. And yeah, that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful thing to do.
Jump in there, Dave. Sorry, I do agree with you because it's all too easy to sit home with a cup of tea and just practice a technique and stuff, and become really great at it. You could become the world's best sweep picker, you know?
Oh yeah.
Getting to lock in with a band, to play with them, to learn to turn body down, and you know, it's a different thing. You've got to work with other people. You know, it's not just about. Anyway, I have a second question for you guys. There's 3 questions in total here. So,
yeah,
for somebody starting out on bass, right? Is there an album or a genre that helped you level up on playing? Was there one album or a genre that really turned on the lights for you, that made you just get better? Jim, you can go first this time.
Oh, yeah. I thought you would have heard enough of me for the last.
I'll try to be.
Right. I don't have an album, my friends, but I do have this thing that I think it was in the early 60s. I heard on equipment that really brought out the bass on a particular song, and it was the Four Tops Reach Out, I'll Be There. There was something about that song that just stood out, and it was that bass work in it, and it caught my attention, and it stuck with me. And when I started to get into guitars and basses, I was looking back, and you're talking about influences, and I've got to confess, my early influences would have come from the radio. And I hate to say it, a lot of the stuff on the radio is crap, but in those days you had a lot of good stuff. But looking back and putting names to faces, I think the work of the guys that played soul music and R&B music in those days really drove home, if you're a child of the 60s and to the 70s, the beauty, the prestige, the majesty of bass and the importance of bass in a song. You had guys like James Jamerson, and he was the bass player on the Four Tops song, Reach Out, I'll Be There. So I'm a big fan of James Jamerson. Then you've got the likes of James Brown, who had Bootsy Collins and fantastic musicians. And a wee side story, it's reported that James Brown's band were paid, I think it was $3 a night, or it was $15 a night, I forget. And he had perfect pitch. And if you made a mistake, and he'd say like first sax, second sax, whatever, he could pick out if you were out of beat or had a bum note. And what you'd do is he'd take either $1 or $5 of your wages for the night. So if you made 3 mistakes, you had no wages for the night. That's how strict James Brown was. And that is like, wow. But I mean, it turned out brilliant players that really could play. Another guy that I had a lot of time for and love for would be Donald Dunn. Brilliant guy. she wasn't known as a bass player because it's only in the later life she became known as the bass player behind some of these great R&B soul hits, a lady called Carol Kay, and I take my hat off to her. Strange enough, she started as a guitarist, I went over to play bass. So there's hope for me, yeah. For there, as I said, I went on and I got really into blues music, I got into rock music, and I think the sort of epitome for me that really attracted me was Jack Bruce of the Cream. He combined rock, blues, and I've got to say jazz, without telling any claps. He was a brilliant bass player, and he was a Scottishman. Brilliant, brilliant. Then David mentioned Lemmy. Loved Lemmy, but as you say, he wasn't a technical bass player. He just plucked the thing and walloped the bugger. Bill Wyman with the Stones, guys like Bob Daisley. I think he was with Rainbow and Whitesnake for a while. He played with a few bands. I'm not getting these in an order, but John Entwistle was another biggie. What he did with the Who was amazing. Then there would be John Paul Jones with Led Zeppelin, John Deacon with Queen, Geezer Butler with Black Sabbath, Paul Lynott with Thin Lizzy, Roger Glover with Deep Purple, John Taylor with Duran Duran, Davy Mullen. The unique thing is, and this is what is the thing that blows me away and makes me so bloody excited about my music, is this. Even though Jack Collins and Lemmy and Bill Wyman all played rock and blues and rock and roll, they all sounded differently. They had their own personality coming through. And I would say music is personality. You know, it's notes and theory coming through a personality. And these guys put their own personality on it. And that's what really hurt me. You listen to something that's generated on a computer, even a drum beat, it's like, it's sterile. But you get somebody like Jack Bruce that would play for hours and sweat his balls off, or Bill Wyman that would just stand there with a straight face and play. These guys are fantastic. Hats off to them. And I hope that one day I can maybe tie their bloody shoelaces. Now it's either over to yourself, Adam. I hope that's answered your question.
Thank you, that's brilliant. Thanks, Jim, thank you. Dave, I'm going to re-ask the same question to you, buddy. Is there an album that you
there's no specific album that you know, I said earlier on it was Quadrophenia, you know, the real me, the opening track is just, I would play it for you, but we can't hook up to this thing, but I just thought, bloody hell, what's that instrument? And John Entwistle just, you know, I just realised what he was doing, and he basically tore out a rule book and said, this is a totally different instrument to the one that I'd grown up listening to. My dad with the Shadows and Jet Black and the Shadows, etc. But if you want to get really good at bass, and Jim alluded to it, but you got to play jazz. At least dip your toe into jazz. It's, you know, of how that actually holds it together, because the bass in jazz. The other thing in jazz, which Jim had mentioned, Jack Bruce, and yes, I remember that quote that as Ginger Baker said, Cream were actually a jazz band, we just didn't tell anyone. Because they were. I mean, getting beside a brilliant drummer. You're a really good drummer, you're a bass player, it's easy. So that was my big one, but I think the first I was really aware of the bass more was the theme from Mahogany, which is a lovely song. I remember that my dad used to play that when I was a wee boy in the caravan. I've only realised recently it's Leland Sklar, who so happens is one of my favourite bass players and across genres. But I think for, you know, I was in all sorts of music, but I grew up at the punk era. So, you know, it was all thrashy, heavy, thrashy. Looking back at punk, there was some really talented bass players out there. I mean, I would rate Bruce Foxton as a bass player. He was extremely good at what he did. But I'm thinking, if somebody wants to think, okay, here's a record that I can play along to, you know, that will teach me about bass, I would probably say what was it? Regatta de Blanc by the Police. Sting's bass playing is exemplary. It's simple enough, it's syncopated, it picks out the chords. He's a jazz player as well, you know, and you can learn an awful lot. And, you know, I've got the bass here, but I can't plug it in. And if you do something like Message in a Bottle, you know, the chord sequence is quite interesting as well. I think it's a 3-1-2-6 chord sequence. But if you learn to play that, you can play it in all 3 different positions on the neck. So you can play it to suit yourself and how the bass sounds, and and which position sounds better for you. And when you play that in a band situation, if I'm playing in a 3-piece band, I know what part of the neck I can play together to give it the depth the song needs. If I'm playing a massive big band, I can play in the bit of the neck that it will allow the notes to punch out much better. So so all his bass lines are, and also syncopated, like Roxanne. You think it sounds a really simple bass line, it's actually not. It's if you think of it, it starts as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and ba-bum. It starts on the and not the first beat. So you get that element of syncopation, which is really useful skills for bass players. So I was thinking back, so anything that the Beatles, because Paul McCartney is incredible once you study Paul McCartney, but Sting as well. It's accessible music. It's a 3-piece. The bass is in there. It's a fundamental part, but it's not lost. It's not trying to be fancy. It's you say it's simple. It's doing what the bass should do. Bass 101. Listen to Sting. So what was the other one? So it was a genre. Yeah, genre's jazz. It's not my favourite genre to play. I'm a rock bass player. That's what I enjoy playing. But I was introduced at an early age just because I was playing a jazz band to Stanley Clarke. Stanley Clarke is the John Entwistle of jazz. He took the bass and said, it can be more than that. And I'm very influenced by the melodic side of what the bass can do as well. It can really be a part of a lead instrument. The bass is a lead instrument. So yeah, so I think that's as much as I can bring to that. But the real classic guys. You're right. And everyone said, James Jamerson. He's been on more hit records than anyone in the world. Mm. He's a bass player. Nobody knows who he is. And but he can learn. And James Jamerson came from jazz. And all the bass guys have come from jazz. Even Cliff Burton, he was a jazz player.
Wow, really? I had no idea.
Yeah. In high school, he was a jazz player. So get yourself into, listen to some jazz. Maybe not the trad stuff, not too much walkie bass stuff, but some of the more sort of modern, the late 70s modern jazz stuff, like Return to Forever or Weather Report or some Stanley Clarke stuff. And even some of the sort of prog rock bands, I can't even think of one. It's what's that Dutch band called? Focus.
Focus.
Yeah. There's a lot of jazz in their stuff and a lot of syncopated bass. So yeah, I would start learning that stuff and teach you how to use the instrument properly.
Guys, thanks, man. Thank you. I've got a third question, guys. And Dave can go first this time. I'm just mixing it. So I think everybody, when they get over the age of 21, right, we find ourselves, our soul being destroyed by bloody work. So how do you guys manage practice time? Do you guys try and get in an hour a day? Do you try and spread things out for the week? What's your thoughts on practicing? Dave?
Practicing is, we're all very good at noodling. Just sit a bit of bass up, that sounds good, yeah, that's a wee riff, and you develop that and do etc, which is fine, and it's good just to keep your fingers moving. Just play the damn thing. And it's good to keep your fingers moving and increase just the feel of the instrument in your hand. It's really useful. Just if you're passing it, pick it up. But for actual practice, it depends what I'm practicing for. If I've got to learn a good couple of songs for the band or whatever, or I'm writing some stuff for another band, then it is a set aside time. That is my focus. That's what I'm going to do in that time. And the other thing is, I have to have, even if I'm not playing in a band, there's something. If I come off the stage and there's something I'm not getting right, and it's a technique thing, or my fingers are just getting a bit old and bent. So sometimes I think that's tough to play, the way it's written, the way I've traditionally played it. There's 3 different places on the bass you can play anything. So how can I play that differently? And not just that, but how can I get that in my muscle memory? So when I'm on stage, I don't automatically go to the old way of doing it and confuse myself. So it's a case of, sit down, that's what I'm trying to do, that's what I'm practicing. Or it could be a set of scales, which I'm trying to learn. or something. I'm actually teaching myself walking bass again. I've got what's his name, the Bass Whisperer chap, his book, and that I'll do. You know, it's once a fortnight, but I'll just decide tonight I'm going to spend 2 hours doing that. But you've got, whatever you practice, sometimes you've got to know what it is you're doing. You know, it's got to have a purpose. It's got to start. When I walk out of this, I want to have learned this, done that, feel comfortable with that, and that's actually served a purpose. Even you know, there's no point just running up and down arpeggios and things on the bass, because you know how to do that. You know, you're not learning anything. You're just practicing. If you're going to be doing that and just want to practice something, quite often we're playing a covers band. I'll say, right, I did that last Saturday. It was raining, and for 3 hours I said, right, I'm going to practice the bass. Not played for ages, and I've got our set list on on Spotify, and I just played along to the set list for 3 hours. But that was the purpose of what I was actually doing, to keep myself in, fit and healthy. So yeah, you got, what is it you're practicing, and why are you practicing that? When are you practicing it? And what do you call it? It's smart outcomes, I think they call it. It's specific, measured, achievable, realistic, and something else. But it's one of these smart things. But that's what it has to be. Today I am going to do that, and when I come at the end of practice, that's what I'm going to have done.
Oh yeah.
If you noodle the bass, you play the same things over and over again. I played in a band once, and when the guitarist was just loosening up, he played the same thing every time. He'd get to the octave or something, and then bend the string, because that's what he did, and he couldn't get out the habit of doing it, because that's what he practiced. So yeah, do decide. I actually wrote something down. Oh yes, and of course, harping back to my first one, quite often I will work on my technique. If I find it's hurting me, I'll work on A, when am I going to play it in the bass, and B, what is it about my technique that's wrong? Because if your technique's wrong, you'll not be able to play it, and it's going to hurt. So that's my tips for practice.
Great, Dave. Thanks, man. Brilliant, man. Jim, I'm going to ask you the same question, buddy. I know you're a hard-working guy. How do you fit in? What's your thoughts on practice? What's your techniques to, just what does Steve?
I mean, all you guys are ganging up against me with this jazz thing, and I do appreciate jazz players are excellent. The drummer, what the hell's his name, with the Rolling Stones, is a jazz drummer. He's got his own jazz band. Bud Wyman. Forgive me for forgetting it. That's the one, Charlie Watts. I couldn't think of the name from that. And I've noticed that jazz players have a discipline that, I'll put it this way, as a generalisation, a lot of rock players are sloppy, whereas jazz players are very disciplined. But I will qualify, these guys that play jazz can also put a hell of a lot of soul and emotion into what they're playing. So, it swings and roundabouts. But I also one in there, I love disco. I think disco bass players are phenomenal, because they can keep time, they can be melodic, they can hold a riff, and some sort of like rock bass players are toiling to just play 8 beats to the bar or 16 to the bar. These guys could do 16 to the bar and throw in a whole lot of licks and riffs and fills and who the hell knows what. But they're fantastic, but they still keep that beat going. They're working away with those drums. And they're phenomenal, these guys. So I love to listen to a lot of disco stuff, especially for the bass and the drum stuff. But sort of practice things, I'll sort of throw my tuppence worth in. I tend to go with the mood I'm in. If I'm not too tired and I've had a good day and I've got energy, I will do the disciplined, right, is there a song I'm trying to learn, and what I said about the years, picking up stuff that you want to learn. So I'll have stuff which I've basically put on a paper list. And what I'll do is I'll look at the list and I'll take the mood I'm in. So I'll either look at a song to learn a bass line I'm looking to adopt, or a chord sequence that I want to sort of work on to learn a song. It just depends, as I say, on the mood and the time available. So I might go down that avenue, or I might do just go through a lot of scales and arpeggios and modes and whatever else. I like playing around with modes, and I'm still learning the blanking things. They're brilliant modes, just those tonalities they can bring out. And they're kind of interesting, especially if you're playing with somebody else that's saying E Dorian. I know Aerosmith use the Dorian mode a lot. So, you know, you don't want to be playing in something that's going to sound odd against what the other guys are playing. So as I say, I'll either be very disciplined and work on this, work on that, have a wee list, and I want to learn this, I want to learn that. And as Dave's saying, if you've got a song to learn the thing. But then there's other times which I sort of call in the moment, where sometimes I'll just sit, blank the mind, blank everything, then just start playing, and it might be some sort of finger exercise, it might be a song, it might be something I've been working on, or something that, and then just live in the moment and just play for the joy of playing. And I can find that so energizing. You sort of find things and you think, well, wait a minute, what the hell is that? So straight away I'm away grabbing the phone to photograph it, film it, so I can say, right, if I come back to that, I can find it again. I'm going to sort of write it down, which can be a pain, especially with my writing, but I've got a video reference point. I can say what I played there, I've got that on video, I can go back to it, and just play for the sake of playing, just the passion of it, the love of it. And I think you just sort of feel so good after it that quite often it's a nice platform after you've done that. You think, oh, I've got 20 minutes. There was a song I was wanting to learn. And it's funny how it sort of opens the channels that it makes it so much easier to learn this new song. You know, like I tend to, I don't know, Dave or yourself, Adam, but I'll tend to look at the chord chart and the chord sequence first, get to know that, and then work through there usually. If there's a distinct riff there, I'll try and still learn the chord sequence and then how that riff fits in there. So they're all sort of different. We've all got our own wee ways of working, but that would be my thing, would be the mood I'm in, what I'm in the mood for, what I've got time for. But I do keep a list of things that I want to do, I need to do. And then, as I say, there's just these times where you just have fun with the thing and you feel energised. And it's funny how often you come in for a stinking day at work and you want to kill somebody. And you get a hold of the guitar or the bass and then you think, well, where's that bad mood gone? And that's why I love the music. I'm so freaking passionate about it. I would just say, forget everything, just play bloody music. But practice. And that's me.
And that's a brilliant point you just made. Yeah, it's important to make that distinction, which I didn't make it clear was there's practicing and playing. If you just want to play the thing, play the thing. But don't call it practice. You know, practice is sitting down and saying, oh, there's something I need to do. But just picking it up. I can't come in this room without picking one up.
I'm going to be cheeky, right? I'm going to impose on your guys' time because I have two bonus questions. But you may not have the time. I don't know. Have you guys got the time?
I've got the time.
Two bonus questions for you. You sure? Okay. We're in a pandemic just now. We are slowly coming out of this pandemic. Pubs and bars are going to open in Scotland soon. What do you guys think the future holds for live bands, live performers, music? What do you think the relationship will be after the pandemic? Because I think the dynamics may have changed with pubs and clubs. Could I have your thoughts, guys? Dave can go first this time.
It's how long is a piece of string? There's one thing for sure, we just don't know, because it depends on where you are making your money and etc. I mean, pubs may be so busy they can't afford it. They need the revenue, so they're not going to pay you. That's the last thing in mind is going to pay for entertainment. So, you know, a lot of people, if you can get a gig in a bar, it'll be a case of, you know, because you want to, and you'll do it for nothing, or you do it for tips. That's going to have to be. And also getting the space in the bar, because people want to make the money back. So, you know, when you got live entertainment is to draw people in, I don't think that's going to be a problem, you know. Or with social distancing, you're not going to fit that many people in, so you're not going to have a band in the corner or some people in the corner doing that. Well, there's a lot of the venues that did have, you know, live bands, were kind of local places or places that had a reputation of having live bands, or it was a draw to get the punters in, etc. You know, they might not even be there. This, you know, if they survive, you know, then yes, they will get live music back. They will probably still want the draw of live music because that's what they're known for. But again, it'll be a case of one of the bands that go in, we did really well at some small venues, and we will go to them and say, look, if you want us for the next 6 months, we'll do it for free. You know, that's the way it's going to have to be. And I know probably all people are going to go, oh no, we don't do that, don't devalue it. But realistically, I'm looking at the long term, you know, long-term goals. We need these places. Without the places, there'll be nothing. I do think that outdoor entertainment venues, mini festivals and stuff will be more prevalent. So I think that's definitely something that's going to be explored. You know, sort of driving places. You know, you've got sort of driving gigs, etc. With you got large areas. Ingleston's one of them. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's going to be a huge amount of people who have spent this time writing music. So on the internet, etc., and writing and packaging music up that way, as opposed to playing it live or being able to record it and play it back live, almost in the DJ format. I think is the way for live music. The much larger bands, you know, it will just be, I think it'll be 6 months, and they'll just get back to business as usual because that demand will still be there. But for a small gigging band like mine, it's we don't know.
You know what? Just before I asked him the same question, I was on Gumtree today, right? And there is a place looking for live music acts, but of course it's for a free.
Yes.
An open call for acoustic musicians wanted. It's for a local Edinburgh market, an outdoor food and drink market. But when it's for a place in Stockbridge, but see when I read these things, right, I get it, you're working together, right? But sometimes I think, well, they're basically asking for free music to entertain their customers so they can sell drink. And it's like this lot, there's no even finish, and the whole thing is started again. But just what you had put forward, Dave, you need these places, it works both ways. But Jim, could I ask you the same question I asked Dave when this pandemic, sorry.
Sorry. No, I've got a lot of friends in America who are musicians, just like yourselves, just ordinary guys. Now, some of them might be working 9 to 5 or whatever as well. But there is a lot of them over there, because of the American situation, can basically work at music. They don't have to do the day job. They can earn enough doing gigs in pubs and venues. Now, the problem in this country is we don't have that set up. For a start, the money you're getting off these places is too low, okay? Now, what I would want to say to anyone that does listen to this is, please don't take this wrong. Stop being fucking musicians and divas. Waking up, folks. These venues are making their money through selling drink, and you're part of the package. You're not a band that's going to suddenly take over the world and be the next flipping Guns N' Roses. You're just a commodity. So on that note, folks, please do note, these venues don't need us. We're just an expense. Start getting a business head on your heads, folks, because it is a business. For the guy that gives you the booking in his pub, you are there to bring money into his venue so he can make money. You're just a commodity. And some people like music, will come in to hear music, and they can make money. Now, when I was with a particular band that did a lot of pub gigs, I had gotten this equation for a lot of bar people, which was to make £100, the bar has to take in 300 quid. So I'd be standing there playing, keeping an eye on the bar, working how much money went in the till. So I could then say, well, they're making money at us, or they're not making money at us. And I would say to the guys afterwards, I don't think we've made that much out of this. And we would make the guy an offer that the next time we come back, we knock 50 quid off, 100 quid off. A lot of bands wouldn't get asked back, but we did. But it also worked that if you say to the guy, "Look, I know you're making money at us, pal. If you want us back and these folk to come back to your pub, I suggest you bring us an extra 50 or 100 quid. If you're talking business with a businessman, he'll respect you for it. But if you go in like the diva, hey man, I can play bass, I can play guitar, I can sing, you know, you're going to have to give me 300 quid for me alone, and the rest of the guys give them 50 quid each. It doesn't work that way. It's a business. The guy has got to get the people in, he's going to get the money in the till, and then he can pay you. Now, while we are playing in a venue, they have got to pay for a performing rights license. They've got to apply to the council for an entertainment license, and then what they've got to do is every time a band plays, they've got to make up a list for the Performing Rights Society saying these songs are being played, so that the folk that wrote them can get their cut for the Performing Rights Society. I remember with one band, you could get 20, you could get Sky Sports TV for 27 quid a month. And in that particular council, you didn't need to have the licence for the council for entertainments because it was an entertainment as they looked at it. You don't have to do a performing rights thing or pay for performing rights insurance. 27 quid a month to have a TV on the wall playing Sky Sports is a hell of a lot cheaper than giving our band 100 quid or 150 or 200 or 300. So at the end of the day, musicians have to wake up and realise if you want to play in Britain, it's a business you're going into. It's a business environment. It's not a magical, oh, we're here to listen to you play, here's 300 quid sort of thing. We've got to work and work damned hard to get these gigs. And we've got to offer value for these guys. Now, when the lockdown comes down, my own conviction is a lot of venues will try to make money back for what they've lost. Straightforward business thing. If you've got an expense that's going to bring in money, fine. But if there's no guarantee, or it's not bringing a very productive thing, you're not going to do it. You know, you may as well get a psychic in for 100 quid instead of a band for 250 quid, or a comedian for 100 quid instead of a band for 150 quid. If you can see where I'm getting at, I'm trying to paint as black a picture as possible, as dire a picture as possible. So when the lockdown's down, it's going to be damn hard getting gigs. And I think if we sort of take that attitude, we're going to have to up our game, and we're going to have set lists that people want to hear. We're going to have to give value to these venues. We're going to have to come and go with them. And it might even mean, all my American friends will disown me for this, it might even have to do a few free gigs. But if it gets you in the door and it gets music re-established and these venues prosper, which we hope they do, for what's left, well, hopefully with a bit of time, things will be back to normal, and then we can fight over getting 240 quid or 250 quid off the venue.
Wait, John,
that's my piece there. Think
you.
of it as a business. Don't think of it as being music.
One of my friends, he's a guitar teacher, and he's noticed over so many years or so, he's got a lot less business. And I think it could be due to the fact of the YouTube, because you want to learn how to play your favourite song, you want to know what scale to play in the key of G, you want to know how the bass works with the bass drum, and but you know, everything is on YouTube, right? So just maybe a few quick points, a few ideas of the pros and cons between teaching yourself by YouTube and going to an actual tutor. And Jim, you can go now. Or Dave, okay, flip a coin.
I was put off guitar teachers and tutors as a youngster, because as I said earlier, any of my pals that went to teachers were getting taught how to play Greensleeves, you know, or Michael Row Your Boat or Show. I wanted to play rock and roll. And I just got on with it. And for me, I think the value might have been if you had somebody to go to sort of question, you know, like say, for example, on the piano, I knew you could play chords in what they called inversions, which is basically putting the sequence of notes of the chord turning it around. So instead of having a root, a third, and a fifth, then you've got a fifth, a third, and a root, and vice versa, and you can twist them around. So I played a bit with those in guitar. And then I started doing arpeggios with those on the bass, and it's like, but am I doing this right? Am I allowed to do this? You know, and I think that is the benefit if you can get a good teacher that'll sit down with you and teach you stuff that's relative to you and what you want to play with. I mean, if I went to lessons and they were trying to teach me how to play a Yes song, I respected Yes as a band. But I didn't think I'd want to learn to play their songs, you know. Teach me a Deep Purple song, or Black Sabbath, or Bad Company, no problem. Teach me Britney Spears, I'll punch your flipping lights out. You know, back in the day, it was very much, as I said, Bert, we didn't play in a day. You know, the book was only 20 years old at that time and 20 years out a day. So as I say, things have moved on a hell of a lot now. So as I say, if you can find a good teacher or a good tutor, I would certainly say it's worth, or a mentor. A mentor's a good thing, an older experienced player that knows their stuff. I would say that's good, because then you can ask relative questions, because the problem with YouTube, for my money, is you can get some brilliant, fantastic stuff on it, but you get a hell of a lot of garbage as well. And that is the danger, is you could learn something a particular way through YouTube, think you're doing great. Like, for example, we were playing with a guy, this guy had played acoustic guitar and he sang. He learnt songs with relative pitch by ear, and it was one of these Kings of Leon songs, I can't mind the one. But in the song, there's a chord which is a C chord with an E bass on it, if that makes sense. Look it up if it doesn't. And when we went in and played with this guy, he was playing an E chord. And it's like, we look at each other, we'd all played the song before, the guys that were met them, because we were trying to put this band together. And it's like, something wrong here. So we watched him play it and put it together. He's playing E. Now, the way he sang it, the E fitted, but when you listen to the original and played it with other people, if you played the C with E bass, that was what it should have been. And in a way, the guy who was playing the song was heart's content. But the thing is, it's when he was playing with other folk, it's through us. And that is the danger of going off onto these YouTube things, is somebody might be playing the song and it sounds fine, but what if it's no? What if you go into an audition and you can say, I'll play this song, no bother, and everybody's letting themselves laugh at it because you made a fool of yourself, you know, because you've learned it from the YouTube University. So I think really, if you can afford, this was the big thing back in my era, was being able to afford it. All the folk I knew at school that learned to play an instrument, there was only one person whose mother got him drum lessons, and his mother was a teacher. The rest of us didn't get any lessons. Trying to help the sounds we used to be. But I think if you can get a good teacher, somebody that can help you, guide you, mentor you, I think that is worth its money. These days, I'd say it's probably cheaper than it was back in my day. But if you are doing the YouTube thing, be very careful, be very selective, and test everything. If somebody's got a YouTube video on a song that you want to learn to play, have a look at some other ones. Don't just stop with one. There was a guy I was following for a while that I thought was pretty good. And I was watching him the other day there, and he played a song which is usually played in E and D. So if you want to play the same song in D, I went off to an audition, I went off to a rehearsal and played it in D, everybody would be looking at us to say it's an E, boy. So as I say, just be careful, be selective, and if you can afford it, get a tutor.
Thanks, man. And Dave, the same question to you, buddy. Could you weigh up the pros and cons of being self-taught with YouTube and going to a proper tutor?
What I've noticed, a lot of YouTube things and just a lot of chats in general with people, and a lot of adverts. There's adverts now for people that sit down with, you know, digital workstations and say, if like me, you know nothing about music and nothing about chords, nothing about theory. I talk about putting them, but they're putting songs together and putting them out on the internet. That's what we're up against. Is you've got a computer, it's a jigsaw puzzle. You got a lot of pieces, you put them in, you go, oh, that fits, that fits. And you know, you get that with people. They want it. Especially youngsters. Youngsters have always been impatient, but I think they're more so now. They want to go from there to there now. You know, that's where they want to be, and there's no patience of the skill of learning. interesting enough, everybody that I know that's going to be professional musicians have been taught by teachers. Now there is space for that. There's space for that too. If there's something specific you want to know, but you know, it's a progression of, you know, you start with the basics and you work like anything. You know, it's like being an apprentice. You don't do the third year first. You learn the rudiments, you learn the basics, you build on that. But yes, you can learn to play. In fact, I mean, look at some of the guys that Tim said, some of the rock stars of the 70s. You know, they didn't have lessons, but they didn't have YouTube either. They just worked out. But that's a lot of patience and a lot of learning, and that's the bit that people just want to skim out. But I would always say, get a good teacher. And teachers have changed now. It's not a case of this is the way you learn. Your piano teacher, etc. They're saying this is the way you learn it. You will learn Bach and you'll learn this, and you know, it's through Elise until you get that right, and you can't move on. It's, you know, you got to say, and most modern teachers will say, right, what do you want to play? And they'll say, right, we'll do that, but this is what you need to play. We'll do that too. So you've got away with two things. You get what you want and what you need in this in equal measure. But there's nothing better. You get on the internet, and some great teachers. Scott's bass lessons. The guy, he's absolutely an amazing educator. Jeff Berlin does a lot as well. But the bass again, you know, I'd be doing something on the bass, you know, and I used to have this flying pinky, you know, seesaw thing. I remember my teacher just going, right, put his finger on it. Or you just do that, and when they're playing something, you just go that and move it, or move my thumb.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You'll never get that from somebody on the end of a screen. Just say, I can see exactly what you're doing wrong, and I can show you. I can actually physically show you how he's doing wrong. Or they can sit right next to you, and you can mirror them. So there's a lot to be said for a teacher. You know, you will get an awful more. And it's much more tailored to your needs. But the teachers themselves, I think they're getting wise to say, yeah, I know you want to learn a Yngwie Malmsteen, you know, piece. But we'll do that. But at the same time, we'll tell you why that works, because he's using, as Jim said, you know, a Phrygian mode over this chord structure. You know, so that's why it works. So you're getting everything. So you're proper educated. But there's no doubt that a person will give you much more than a screen, because you can't turn a person off and say, oh, I don't like you, I'll get someone else. And eventually you'll find somebody that tells you what you want to hear, and then you go away thinking you learned it. So yeah, I'm a stickler for people. People need people, and they're the best ones.
Guys, thanks. Listen, guys, thanks for tonight. That concludes our session tonight.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy that.
Guys, listen, thanks, man. All good.